We've talked a lot lately about the many issues facing the MBTA. High on that list is that Green Line extension with a growing price tag, of which the governor says, quote, "I support the project. I don't support it at any cost." One of the biggest champions of it, and a big reason the state landed $1 billion in federal money last year to make it happen, is Congressman Michael Capuano. The congressman joins me now. Good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
So the $1 billion you helped get is obviously a critical piece of getting it this far. Are you worried this thing is going to fall apart?
Not really. I mean, it's always in the back of my mind, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think that other things will happen. They'll sharpen their pencils a little bit. They may have to change some timelines, something. They may have to come back a little bit on some of the extras that were in there. But at the moment, I have absolute
You wouldn't
faith.
call this an extra, but let's assume one of the, quote, extras they decided to cut to make the money work was a station or two fewer. Would the federal money disappear?
It would depend. Probably, it's a possibility. It depends how they do it, because those stations are based on the whole idea is getting a certain number of people off the roads. So it kind of depends on that. I don't think that's going to save a lot of money. That's not where a lot of the big costs are. Now, the stations may not be nice stations, which is what they designed as now. They may revert to something, a typical Green Line station. But I don't think the stations will disappear.
You've spoken to the governor, yes, from what I hear. Has he given you any assurance or anything close to it that this is going to happen? What's he said to you?
I won't ask for an assurance. He knows exactly how we feel. I believe he's a supporter of the project, but I understand, not at any cost. So I'm going to let them do their work, and then I'll ask.
And no more federal money. There's no more money coming.
The problem is, if they want more federal money, they have to reapply and go to the end of the line, and that's a big problem.
Let's go from Somerville to Tehran for a second. Today, Barbara Mikulski, one of your colleagues, senator from Maryland, said she's going to vote yes, which is the 34th vote, which means essentially the president has what he has. You said a while ago, yeah, I'm voting for the thing unless I learn something new. Am I wrong to read into your yes that it's a slightly skeptical yes?
No, but I have the same concerns. To pretend there are no concerns with any deal, and this deal is no different, I think is ridiculous. There's not a perfect deal, but that's not the vote I get. I get a yes or a no vote, and the only question that I'm trying to answer, and I pretty much answered it, but not fully, is the world better off with a yes or a no? And I don't get to amend it. I can say all the wonderful things I want to say about it, but in the final analysis, it's yes or no. And right now, again, based on what I know at the moment and the situation at the moment, it's a yes for me.
Let's come to politics for a second. I've known you for a long time. You're a fairly blunt guy. Has anyone ever called you a loudmouth jerk? They probably have, right?
Probably, not to my face.
But they probably have. Well, you called
that might
a guy.
Be a nice thing.
What's that?
That might be one
by
of the nice
comparison.
Things.
You called a month or so ago the guy who's leading on the Republican side, Donald Trump, a loudmouth jerk.
I didn't call him that. I said he reminded me of that guy at the bottom.
Okay, fine. Is there? I mean, you really are a blunt character. You've always been mayor of Somerville, alderman. Is there? I mean this sincerely, Representative. Is there not a piece of his approach to politics that you see in you?
Sure, but not. The difference is he's doing it, and I don't see any substance behind it. Calling somebody a name or calling a proposal a bad thing, and then not putting forth your own proposal, that's ridiculous.
Well, build a wall, evict. I'm not saying it's real, but he has a proposal, yeah?
Well, I guess you're being more generous than I would be. I don't see almost any real serious proposals, not just in immigration, but on anything that he has kind of criticized.
But when you see that most recent Iowa poll where he's tied with Ben Carson, 23 each, 10 points for Carly Fiorina, what do they all have in common? No government experience. 56% of the vote. Aren't they sending a statement to people like you and your 534 colleagues?
First of all, that's the Republican primary, and I don't pretend to know Republican voters, especially in another state. Second of all, what's new about people not liking Washington? I went to Washington because I didn't like Washington. But
you like it now?
Like it? No, but find it as necessary to have a civilized, progressive society? Yeah.
Let's switch to the Democratic side for a second. I read a month or so ago, I think we actually talked about this. You thought it'd be great if Elizabeth Warren ran. You're urging to run. You had no signal that she would. She isn't. You said, I think, a couple of days ago, a Biden-Warren ticket would be terrific. Was that the word you used?
That was in response to a question that I was asked. I didn't offer it.
Okay, fine, but that was your response to the question.
It would be a good ticket.
So I assume you noticed, I don't know if it's the irony, the people you have said really positive things about are those who aren't running, and the people who are, Hillary Clinton.
Well, nobody's asked me a positive question.
Well, I'll ask you right now. What's wrong with Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders?
Nothing's wrong.
Why are you not saying these kinds of things about them?
Because I wasn't asked. Would you like to ask me a question?
Yeah. Could you see yourself endorsing Hillary Clinton in a contested race?
Yes, I could.
Why haven't you?
Because I'm not ready to yet. Number one, I want to see the complete field. Number two is, look, I'm no different than anybody else. I would enjoy falling in love with a candidate. I don't expect to, but I would like that.
Isn't Bernie Sanders' politics pretty close to your brand of
Some
politics?
of his politics is, not all of it. And again, for me, the most important criteria is the ability to win in November. If I love somebody 100% of the time and they can't win, that's not going to make any difference. I would love for you to run for president, Jim, but I don't think you're going to win.
That's probably true.
And if that's the case, now I have to step back and try to balance the desire to win with, okay, how many issues or whatever might I be able to give up?
Let's talk an issue that you've been on for roughly a quarter of a century. If I remember correctly, when you were an alderman, a lowly alderman in Somerville, and I don't mean that, I know you don't see it that way, you were fighting for sanctuary city status. Yeah. Today, fast forward 25, 26 years, there's 6, I think, in Massachusetts, 200 in the country. Why shouldn't a city like Somerville or anything else, if the Immigration and Customs and Enforcement Agency, the Immigration Service on the federal level, says, please hold this person for X number of hours.
Well, that's not the way it works.
Well, but that is the way it works, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Not the way Sanctuary City worked in Somerville when I was an alderman and mayor. I don't know exactly what the policies are today, but that's what it was when I was there. What it was then, it was simply for somebody who has an immigration problem, if they get stopped for a typical traffic light violation, I don't want my police spending hours and hours and hours chasing down their immigration status. If they were stopped for a felony, different story. If the federal government picked up the phone and called us and said that Jim Browdy were after him for some other, that's a different story.
Even if they post bond or they're released, you'd hold them?
Not when I was mayor, if it was a legitimate call. And then they
so you're saying that Curtatone is doing this in a way that you would not do it?
I do not know how they're doing it.
You really not know?
No, I really don't know.
Okay.
Because that would require me to do something that I wouldn't otherwise have to do. But it was, and they never called about, Jim is here illegally, he overstayed. It's like, hey, we think Jim might have been involved in a bank robbery, and by the way, he may well be here illegally.
But you think that if someone is accused of a serious felony, even if they're released on bond or released for some other reason, if ICE calls and says, I want you to hold them for 48 hours?
If it's a serious felony,
then the answer is yes.
I would.
Can we come back very quickly to a couple of things? 22 petitions.
If it's a legitimate one, if it's just made up, different story. But I've never seen that situation. But if it's a legitimate thing,
you'd hold them.
I would, yeah.
22 petitions on 16 topics approved today. If they get signatures, makes it to the ballot in 2016. The highest profile one at the moment, recreational marijuana. Would you vote for that?
I haven't read this particular ballot question.
But as a concept?
Conceptually, I've always been in favor of it. I think it's ridiculous to criminalize it.
How'd you vote on the casino question, speaking about? I was looking around. I know you were undecided.
I never really had the time. I probably voted for it. I don't remember. Because
for repeal or to keep the casinos?
I think to keep them, because I'm not a big casino guy, because I know the odds. They don't build billion-dollar casinos because I win. But I also have no moral problem if you
One town over, there's about to be a casino. Got an environmental permit.
It's in my district.
I know that. Are you troubled by this environmental permit granting by the Baker administration?
No, not at all.
You're not worried about this backup at Sullivan Square?
Oh, sure. That's a different issue. That will be addressed. As a matter of fact, I was speaking to the governor recently about that.
Will be addressed, meaning you're satisfied that there will be
my satisfaction level is pretty high, but I have no doubt that we'll be addressing the traffic problem that already exists at Sullivan and Rutherford Ave.
In a positive way.
I have faith that will happen.
Mike Capuano, it's nice to see you.
Jim, always a pleasure.